there, and welcome to the Seven Figure Entrepreneur Podcast, where we empower authors with tools, resources, and inspiration to build prosperous book brands. Hi, I am your host, Octoryia Robinson, and today I have Trisha Stalnaker here. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for having me. How's your morning?
It is great, and I have been so excited about interviewing you guys. We are in for a powerful podcast interview today. Trisha will be bringing her expertise on this subject. Y'all ready? How to nurture relationships and increase sales growth. Let's get started. Would you begin by telling us a little bit about your expertise in the field of customer service relations?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, it all got started, honestly, going to school. I studied psychology, education leadership, and then some business admin. So the way that I look at it is I went to go learn about people, how to get them engaged, and then ideally how to prosper from it. And so then once I dropped into hitting the ground, I started working for Southern Illinois University, but in a very niche location here on a Navy base. And so this ended up kind of setting my mindset. I was full service. I had them from the moment that they were recruited for our school all the way through to the point that they graduated. But we were also in a non-compete environment. Being on a Navy base, the goal is to make sure that the veterans are getting where they're going to benefit the most. And so what that did for my sales mindset was really just a fantastic foundation. So then I went on to another university, and from there I got to be the front face and going out and recruiting, really working with the networking and letting people know that we exist. What's unique about college is that you don't get to walk into a room and make a sale. There's nobody there that all of a sudden goes, yeah, let's go drop $25,000 immediately for this thing that I've maybe been thinking about before. You've really got to have that foundation to get to know them and understand what they want and know that you're going to be able to solve their issues and give them that ROI back. And so from there, really working on selling through my network rather than to my network. I went on from there to enter SaaS, and I now work for Thryv. So working with our clients and figuring out their needs and their problems. And so that way we're able to present a solution rather than just features. And so being where our clients are, how to engage with them and to put the people into the right places and have the systems in place to be where you can't be. And then that's actually led me to start my own business. And so in addition to all of that, I have a construction business here in Jacksonville. And so really what that showed me is how the network that I developed and having that strong network can pay off for me. And so really just working with them to see how I can get their support and their engagement.
Okay, Trisha, can I start by saying you just blew my mind with your intro? I'm like writing thousands of questions over here. I'm like, oh my God. So before we go into some of the more scheduled questions, I want to dig a little deeper in a few things you said in your intro. You kept referring to your sales mindset. Can you elaborate what that means?
Yeah. So for me, when we're out there, we're doing our thing, we're in here trying to develop a business. Too many books points, like you're always closing, right? You're always out there, you're always making sales, what you're able to do and the way that you connect with people. And so really where you're starting that relationship and what you're able to develop. And the end goal is always to make that sale, but it may not be the sale that you think you're going to make. That thought process of, oh, the person I'm talking to is going to be able to bring in that purchase for me is something that I know later we're going to talk about some of the misunderstandings. And I think that that's definitely one of them. And so that sales mindset is just always the end goal of knowing where we're going, or at least where we hope we're getting somebody at the end of the day. We're here to help deliver what it is that we're putting out there for you guys, for that author base. Like, you're not writing it just for you. If you were going to write it just for you, you'd have a journal. That's not what this is. This is you guys being able to galvanize other people and get out there and deliver this message or the entertainment that you're giving. And so that mindset starts with from the moment that you started writing. And so I don't know if that kind of answered the question.
That was powerful. Secondly, I wanted to hear your mojo on this one. You said selling through your network rather than to your network. Can you explore that a little more?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of people, especially when they're kind of looking at sales, they're like, oh no, I've got to get out there and I've got to make sales. I've got to tell everybody what it is that I'm doing. And when you do that to a network, you can tell everybody in the room exactly what you do. And if they feel that you're pressuring them to just make that sale, they're not engaging past their own interest. So if you're selling to your room, everybody who's not your target client just checked out. And so being able to sell through them now becomes about establishing a relationship with everybody in the room, making sure that everybody in the room goes, you know what? I really want to support her. I want people to know about her. Man, this is not for me, but this is for my aunt, that this one lady that I see at the grocery store all the time that keeps talking to me, like whoever it is that they know. And so if you sell to, you have a limited audience. If you sell through, I'm never going to know everybody that my network knows. But eventually, when the fit is right, my network's going to deliver their network to me.
I can't even, guys. I know you are getting rocked just like I am, and we're only a couple minutes in. All right, Trisha, can you go ahead and define what it means to have a customer relationship, and how does this differ from a personal relationship?
Yeah. So your customer relationships are any or all interactions that you're going to have with someone from the moment they might hear about you all the way through the moment that your client cuts you out and says, I'm going to unfollow, I got to unsubscribe. This is not for me anymore. I'm done listening to this podcast. Every single avenue that you were corresponding with someone, they have to be able to cut it off. And so, how to make sure that you're having those multiple different strains of communication. And so, getting that going from your client all the way before you know them until the time that they decide that they're just done. And so, it differs from that personal relationship. On the tail end, you have a little bit more say in when your relationships are over. If it's that personal relationship, when something goes wrong, you have the chance to say, like, hey, we're friends, we're family, like we're still going to be around each other. Like, how do we fix this? With a customer base, if you post something that they don't like, or you're in a partnership that they just find beyond offensive, it's gone instantly. Everything is gone like that. You're probably not even going to know, never mind have the ability to save it. And so it has a lot of the same aspects. It has a lot of those same emotional ties. But at the end of the day, with your client relationships, it is a bit more transactional at every stage. Even when you have that personal effect with them, I have clients that I know when their kids are going on vacation and they're coming to a city that I live in. So great. How can I support you? And these things, that knowing when my clients' kids' birthdays are, what that can do for their mindset and their, wow, like she really does listen to me. At the end of the day, that's still it. Like one day they're going to choose to not interact with me anymore. And that's perfectly fine. I'm still probably going to forget when their kids' birthdays were, but because right now I'm pouring into that client base and I have that ability to recognize what it is that they tell me, that's kind of where those relationships can prosper. But at the end of the day, that's kind of where I separate my customer versus personal relationship. Is one of them is transactional and they kind of drive it, and the other one, I at least get a say in how long we maintain this relationship.
Wow. So is it fair to say that a customer relationship could be summarized as connecting with boundaries that are in alignment with our business goals?
Yes. Well, and I'm gonna put an asterisk on that align with our business goals, with the recognition that we don't always recognize and we don't always understand what is in our best business goals. We seem to have some blinders on, and so continuing that relationship outside of things that we may not initially recognize as our business goals.
Oh, that's so good, guys. I hope you're taking all this in. As authors, we come with an intention to deliver a value to the market, but sometimes as our readers begin to consume our product, we realize that what we thought they would gain. They're not, but they're gaining something different, and we have to repurpose and reestablish and get more clearer so that way we are able to pivot from what's actually giving them value and driving sales. That was so good. Now, guys, y'all ready for this next one? I would love, Trisha, for you to go over the top 3 things most misunderstood about building customer relationships.
Yeah. So my top 3 misunderstandings. The first one we've kind of already hit on, and it's just when your relationship starts. Most people seem to think that it's in that first correspondence that I have with somebody, or even as late as their first purchase. And really, it started long before then, whether it's through the network that was one day going to tell them where we were, or me creating social media content long before anybody's ever found me or knows that I exist. I'm putting all of these things in mind, my target audience, my ideal person, long before I've ever met them. And so I think that when your relationship starts is number 1. My number 2 is that everyone is your target client. We hear it all the time. People who are working in skincare and they're like, oh, anybody who has skin is my client. No, they are not. They are not your target audience. For you guys, I'm a weird one. I cannot enjoy a good fiction book. I'm just not, my brain doesn't do it, but I love nonfiction. If you write fiction, I am not your target client. You do not want me to be, oh, but this is the one book that's going to change your mind. If that's true, I will eventually make my way there. But for me to be able to start off and say, like, I'm not going to enjoy this, you don't want me to invest that time in there, because people are more likely to share bad reviews than they are good reviews. And that is across the board in anything that you do. People tend to share their negative experiences so quickly. And especially nowadays with the internet being kind of a sound box for them, they are quick to hop on there and let everyone know that they didn't enjoy it, even if it doesn't even make sense. People complain about stuff all the time, like, my food was too flavorful. And you read that review with 1 star and you think, your food was too flavorful. This book was too entertaining. Like, what in the world it's because you had the wrong client.
Wow. So good. So good. So good. So what strategies do you use to nurture business relationships?
So there's kind of 2 buckets. There's directly and then there's indirectly. And so with directly, I have your in-person networking meetings, when you're out at street markets and you're doing book signings, anything from your emails, text messages, and calls, all the way through to your social media content, anything that you are directly making an effort to communicate with your group. And then indirectly, your placements. So whether you're doing partnerships and podcasts, whether you're putting ads out there, wherever it is that you've placed your brand, your customers' network themselves, their network is who you often target. So you're not directly dealing with your client, but kind of that middleman. And then really the indirectly is being everywhere that you can be and the best that you can be there, as long as you can do it well. And so you don't really have that target audience in mind yet, but you're just out there, you're being where you are, knowing that if you're doing the things that you expect from people, you're going to attract that same kind of crowd.
Wow, it seems like you're really promoting connections as a form of nurturing relationships. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Any way that you can establish it.
Oh, wow, wow, wow. So how can a relationship add value to customers?
I think the easiest way to answer that question is with a question for yourself. And that is, who do you want to support? Who do you want to buy from? The people that you know, the people that you love, the people even just that you don't know. You see them on social media and you're like, wow, that person is so funny. That person is so insightful. They're just laughing. They're fun. They bring something to me. I want them to succeed. And so being able to have established that kind of bond, whether you've ever even talked to your client or not, having people that are like, yes, I want to support that person, comes from building those relationships and having that genuine nature when you go out and you're promoting yourself.
It's so funny that you say that. We just recently hosted a mixer where we were discussing authors we support in the marketplace and why we support them. You would be surprised as to how many people in the room were speaking so passionately about the authors as though they knew them personally. One described their favorite one as, "Oh, I just love her. She is so authentic." So jokingly, I asked her, "Hey, when's the last time you had lunch with her?" "Oh, never." But it is something about what she's done to establish this perception of who she is in the mind of her target audience that they now relate to her without having never even met her in real life. That's so powerful.
Absolutely. And it happens all the time. I mean, think of even just the people that you follow on social media. How many of them do, when you see their videos, or I listen to some podcasts that I'm laughing around with them. I'm walking around. I look like I'm crazy just walking down the side of the street laughing at my headphones, but I feel like I'm having this conversation. I'm a part of it. I'm just sitting on the side. I'm eating my lunch like I'm at the table with them. And I've now created this entire relationship and who this person is. And all it happened was they went out, they put their voice out there, and they gave me something to follow. And luckily, they were just interesting enough to keep my attention.
Wow. Now, Trisha, a lot of our listening audience, they don't have a whole lot of sales experience. In most cases, they're working full time in businesses where sales is not their primary task. So I have a really important question that I believe is going to give a lot of value. What is the single most important ingredient in nurturing a relationship?
And, to a certain extent, I almost feel like it's a letdown to give this response because you already know it. It is to show up genuinely and authentically. When people are pretending to do something, even if you don't know what's wrong, you can feel that something is wrong. Something's off. This isn't what they wanted to do. And it can be as simple as lots of people try to force social media content. They are so worried about what their consumer might want to see that they're doing things that are almost cringeworthy. When you look at the stuff and you see it and you're like, oh, no, that didn't help. That wasn't really in line with what you guys were trying to do. And so when you have that genuine force that's kind of driving you, when you're putting out information that is just genuinely, here's some information for you. Here's what I want to talk about. Here's where I am. You guys are authors. You have so many awesome thoughts. They're creative. Some of them don't even make sense, but having that kind of content and things out there that are just thoughts of a creator, those of us who are missing that creative gene are now watching that and they're like, oh, wait a minute. Okay. This person's teaching me things. This person didn't even know that they were going to teach me things. They're just out here sharing their life and I'm learning from it because it's things that I don't understand. And so being able to have that faith in what you bring to the table and sharing that, it can bring you to those end goals of sales anyways. If you're coming out here and you're trying to be something that you're not, it's going to be a lot harder to get them to that end goal.
Wow, guys. And I know you're hearing a whole lot of wows in today's interviews because that's just how I feel. But you heard it here. Be genuine. Maybe some of you need to write that down because I found, even as a business coach in my previous career, the most things that we are challenged by are not solved by complex answers. They're solved by very simple known truths. So be genuine, guys. You want to make sales. You want to create relationships. You want to be remarkable and remembered in the marketplace. Be genuine.
And that's, I think, to what you just said, that one of the drive home points for me is that it's never easy, but it is always simple. It's not easy to enact all of these things. It's not easy to keep up with all of your clients and to be able to have the mind space for all of this different information and how to process it and where to store it and how to keep up with people. But it is simple. Once you have the proper things in place to make it so that all of your notes are right there, all of the ways that you're contacting people is one simple spot, the things that you can do to make it easier for yourself, it is as simple as being genuine, being where your clients are, being who you are, and knowing that it's going to get you where you want to be.
Oh my goodness. So now that we have been really integrating social media a whole lot into this conversation, I think it's important that we address in some of the ways that social media has worked for customer retention and worked against it. So what are some of the pros and cons that social media has brought to building and maintaining relationships?
So when it comes to social media, I'm going to give you the best compliment sandwich because I got to say I'm a fan. So I do want to end us on those pros as well. But so to start, the best thing about social media is that your reach can go so much further than before. You used to be able to talk to the people you know, wherever it is that you could interact with someone, how far you could go, and the number of people that brought to you. With social media, you can reach anyone. You have no idea where you're going to end up or what's going to happen. You no longer have to have the money to invest in large ads and things like that. And granted, it's still hard to predict what's going to go viral, but you can potentially go viral off of a completely free thing that you did that somebody thought was funny and everybody seemed to have agreed. So your reach can go so much further, and it's opened the door to people who didn't have the previous resources that were necessary to get their name out there. The cons. I think we can all look at social media right now and come up with some cons. It's a little embarrassing how people seem to have forgotten how to be human when it comes to the internet. There's something about being far enough away behind a keyboard, having no idea who you're responding to, that has created some heartless individuals. And also, it's hard to predict. It's kind of hard to plan around. You don't know what's going to do well. You don't know how things are going to interact. And you also don't know how social media is going to change their algorithms throughout time. So those are kind of my biggest cons, are just the lack of human relationship and that connection that you're missing, but that it can't go as far as it can. And then also with the pros, I think that it's important to recognize what the algorithm they're doing for us. If I create genuine content and I'm just getting engagement, my network is reacting, is commenting, is liking, is doing all of the things, Facebook is now excited. They're like, wait a minute, what she just said, all of these people are interacting with. Let me go try to push this a little further. Let me put this in front of everybody who liked it. I'm going to put it in front of their friends and say like, hey, this one person liked this. You better go take a look. And the more of them who like it, the further it's going to go. And what we are creating fills into the algorithm. All social media platforms, if you look at it from their perspective, their number one goal is to keep you on their platform for as long as possible. So for business owners, that's feeding to our interest. Now I know, great, I've got this construction company. I'm making these reno videos. Facebook is actually going to feed my renovation videos to people who are already watching things like that. They're going to try to keep them on longer, and they're going to test my material to do so. And if I get their engagement, and if I keep them liking things and keep them on Facebook longer, Facebook is going to reward me by continuing to move my products for me in attempts to benefit themselves. So once we learn how to ride the wave, it can bring us to places that we never imagined.
That's so good. That's so good. That's so good. And I wish we had more time because I am like filled with so many more questions, and I'm sure our audience are like, keep talking, Trisha, keep talking. I know though, for most of our audience, they are not at the writing wave phase. They're more in the creating wave phase. So what would you say to encourage a author who's newer to the social media world of building relationships and they aren't getting a whole lot of engagement, likes, or interactions?
Sure. So for that, a part of it is that you have to ask. Ask your friends, ask your family, ask the people who genuinely want to see you succeed to support you, to help you. Be the same client that you want those interactions. Go out as yourself. as your business and go like all your friends' things. Go help their businesses succeed, help create that interaction. One of the biggest miss markets to me with social media are groups where you're able to go in and actually correspond with people. People will go in and they just post, here's my book, I wrote it, come read it. Well, okay, sure, but that's just one post and people are going to overlook that. But the next time somebody's saying, what's something fun to do in this area? Or I'm new to your city, what's going on? Even so much as just complaints about, oh, this neighbor is making noise, whatever. If you're interacting with people, you're starting to build those relationships. You're starting to create that interaction. And it doesn't have to be about your business. It doesn't have to be about your book. Go drop friendly advice, but do it from your business. Let your business say, or your author's page, like whatever it is that lets them know, like, hey, there's more to me. Check me out. Just put genuine thoughts out there. Help people. Connect your friends, your favorite real estate agent. Drop their information. Your ability to connect other people will help those same people later send your clients to you. So really just getting out there, and it doesn't have to be about creating that content. It can just be about existing. It can be about, everything comes down to what it is that you're able to do. If you're not going to create good content, just go talk to people. Have enough content so that when somebody does look into you, they want to make sure that they're going to still want to invest. You want to hook them. But just go share the information that you do have. Trust that what you're bringing to the table may not be what you think needs to be brought to the table. You're worried about this business. You're worried about making those sales. You're worried about making sure that people know that your book exists. Just start off by making sure that people know you exist.
Wow, guys, I hope you heard that. When you don't have content, you still have engagement. Go after it and make those connections by interacting with other people posts. Wow, wow, wow. Now we're going to close this powerful, insightful interview out with one final question. Can you share 3 strategies for our listeners to use to nurture new and or existing business relationships with authors? With readers.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and to that point, you might want to start nurturing better with other authors and just understanding what it is that they're doing. And so there's the 2 different kind of groups to keep up with. And so I personally use a CRM that allows me to track all of this for you, but I know that a lot of people do it right out of an Excel sheet. And your ability to make the resources, you can have free resources, or with a little bit of money, you can find out what kind of automated services might be able to save you that money. But being able to be everywhere that you can and envelop yourself, kind of let it take you over, let it be genuine, and feel free to reuse stuff. There's stuff that can go on every single platform. Every platform has their own rules, but what you can do to be everywhere, stop making it as difficult. It doesn't all have to be different. If somebody sees the same thing in 3 different places, they're not going to be like, oh, how lazy. They're going to say, oh, let me scroll down and see if there's something else that I missed. Like, oh, this is that same article. I do know that this is that person. And so kind of creating ways to make it easier for yourself. And so whether you're going to make something automated, probably going to pay a little bit more for it, but it's going to be easier for you, or manual and just really putting in that time. The 3 different things that I think are kind of the easiest to fall back on is that that everybody loves a good deal. With that, text messages are opened more often than emails. And so being able to do both is a big deal. Being able to communicate with your clients in the way that they want to be communicated with, not in the way that you want to be communicated with, is so important. And then another good thing especially with authors, is give people a sneak peek. Put that out there. See how many of them are interacting with that. Give them a chapter. Give them your intro. Give them the plot line. What is it that you can put out that can help bring things back in? Whatever it is that you're putting out is going to be kind of how you nurture them. And so you have email drip campaigns or call campaigns where you're reaching back out, social media content. All of them still come down to the same thing. It's about having a constant engagement and a constant interaction in whatever manner your client is seeking it. And so really with strategies, as long as your focus is to entertain, inform, and educate, and you're just putting out genuine thoughts and creativity and doing everything that you can and being wherever it is that you can be effectively, then that's kind of, so I guess it doesn't kind of break down into 3 strategies. It's more of there's a bucket of 200 things. Whatever it is that you pull out, whatever it is that you do well, whatever it is that makes sense to you, just stick with them and be consistent. Have those automated features posting for you, creating content for you, or if you're doing them yourself, same thing with your emails. There's so many systems that can wish you a happy birthday, can celebrate your anniversary. And so taking what it is that you want and amplifying it, adding that personal value. What is it that you enjoy? What is it that you can do? Giving a sneak peek. Maybe it's to your book's anniversary. It has nothing to do with the sales date. It has to do with you and your establishment. What things can you automate to put out there? Take it off your plate, but constantly be everywhere that you can be.
Wow, wow, wow. Guys, what a impactful conversation with Trisha. She talked about being present, being authentic, being committed, being consistent, not making it too difficult, aka don't overthink it. Be sure to share deals. Bring a diversity in your communication style based on the people that are listening. Oh my goodness, it was just so much. I am like, wow. I'm probably going to have to re-listen to it myself. The whole goal again for today's conversation was to empower you guys on how to nurture relationships and increase your sales growth. I believe that Trisha over-delivered. Now the rest is up to you guys. Let's implement, let's execute, and let's prosper together, authors.